Canada's housing crisis is expected to get top billing in the 2024 budget this afternoon, with the Liberals already having made a long list of housing announcements. But will any of it make a dent in the housing crisis? Maurizio Zalea is an economist and senior leader at EY Canada. He joins us now with more insight. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Okay, let's jump right in. From what you've heard so far from the feds, based on what they've previously announced on the housing front, will any of this make a tangible difference?
I think so, and it is quite the ambitious plan that they have put in place. What we'll be really looking to see is the execution of this. This does require a great level of collaboration, coordination from the federal level all the way down to the municipalities, and to be able to provide the proper incentives to work closely with the developers, but at the same time working closely with all to be able to provide affordable housing. And that's what we really need here. And that's the key area. And the announcement that they have provided is hitting quite a these different areas. And so we really are watching what I'll call the execution, the timing of that, because it's great to announce that they're going to build more than 4 million homes over the next little while, but it also becomes a question on how we do so. And do we have the capacity to do so as well?
You know, among other things, the government has promised to extend the period it takes to pay off a mortgage for new buyers. Is there anything specific like that you think will move the needle?
I think so. Well, we always have to be careful on not confusing accessibility to purchasing a home with affordability of the home as well. So we have seen some announcements around RSP contributions with withdrawal limits have been raised. First-time home buyers can actually now apply for a 30-year mortgage, and that's great. But at the same time, we want to make sure that first-time home buyers are purchasing a home at an affordable price, and that's what's really critical. And so the timing of all this has to be critically important, because if we do not build houses on time, but allow for first-time buyers to have this new access to capital, it might actually fuel the existing housing market.
All these pre-budget announcements that the feds have already made amount to billions of dollars. And we know Chrystia Freeland has said the deficit will not increase in this year's budget. And she says she won't increase taxes on the middle class. So I wonder, can the government offset these billions of dollars in new spending in a way that's fiscally responsible and non-inflationary?
And that's something that we're really looking to see in the announcement today, because this has to come from somewhere. There has been some speculation in the news as recently as yesterday that it might be coming from taxing certain businesses. So the identification of those businesses will be interesting, but also potentially taxing high income earners. And there's naturally consequences towards both of those, and we have to be very careful how to proceed. We have seen in the past that with labor shortages, there has been this increase in immigration, and we see the results of that. So we really have to be very careful on how to go forward, should that be the case in this instance.
So taxing the wealthy, sounds good in practice, but not always a good solution?
Exactly. And I think what this might mean is, from what we've seen, the speculation is around taxing those that earn above $300,000. But what we really have to think about is those that are earning that amount. What that might mean is that they also were in debt for probably $200,000-300,000. So we think about the physicians that graduated and have been working hard, the executives that have been working for 20-25 years. And when we really think about those that have these salaries, they're probably pretty mobile as well. So could they actually leave Canada if we see this? So it's something we always have to be quite careful of. And on the flip side, we look on businesses. If they are looking to tax certain businesses that are more profitable, and we're curious if that's actually the case, we also have to think about why do we want to go down this? Because from the productivity perspective, which is Canada's biggest challenge yet, the data suggests that it's actually driven primarily, or among the reasons, is actually a lack in business investment. So to be able to tax a more profitable company to do so, they may actually have other options as well. So it's just being very, very careful on how we proceed here.
On the other end of that spectrum, many Canadians are concerned about the cost of living crisis. We know Canadians will get the latest read on interest rates in June. What signal does the Bank of Canada need to see in this budget before rate cuts?
Yeah, and I think it's around the spending naturally because they have to be well. It's a balance between the monetary policy and the fiscal policies that we're seeing in place. The Bank of Canada is closely monitoring the inflation. We have seen it come down, but they need to see it come down some more. And really, when you think about what the announcements are in the Bank of Canada, it's really two factors that really play a role here. One is the actual change in the rate, so whether it stays the same, goes up, or goes down. But the second part of it is actually the expectations and managing the expectations of Canadians on whether that actually goes up or down. And so if we believe that the rates will go down, Canadians may actually continue to spend more in anticipation of that. We may in fact actually elevate or keep the inflation quite high for some time. And so it becomes a credibility question that if the Bank of Canada does state that we may have rates for higher for longer, then that might be the case. An additional factor we do have to consider as well is that the American economy is running quite hot as well. And because of that, if we run the risk of a cut too soon, that might actually further weaken the Canadian dollar, which may have other implications. So a lot of different moving parts at the moment.
Really quickly, we saw that inflation rate tick a little bit higher this morning, 2.9%. Does that play a role in, how big of a role does that play in this?
Yeah, it does. And I mean, the target that the Bank of Canada have is 1 to 3%. So we're on the high end of that spectrum. So they still would like to see the constant decline. So if it's staying constant, then that's something that will be not necessarily worrisome, but nonetheless may take their time in announcing any cuts in the future.
Maurizio Zelaya at EY Canada, thank you so much for your insight. Great to have you here today.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.